Well, the minor squeals are high, piercing low. The double slides in with a nasty blues. You got a ring on every finger, got a suit made out of silk. You're drinking vintage whiskey while the poor drinking milk. You build a mansion on a mountain high above the common man, thinking you can outmaneuver the master's master plan. You sold your brother down the river for a heavy bag of gold. You traded in your conscience before you even got old. Now you're standing at the station with your ticket in your hand, but this train don't go to glory and it don't go to the promised land. You can stack the coins of heaven, you can feel the vault of tide. You can try to bribe the reaper when he comes into the night, but the currency of judgment ain't minted by the state. And St. Peter don't take tips when you're standing at the gate. Yeah, the devil's getting hungry and he's waiting for his toll, but a pocket full of silver won't buy back your soul. No, a pocket full of silver won't buy back your soul. I heard you talking to the doctor, asking for another year. You offered him a diamond just to make the sickness disappear, but death the only equalizer that the wealthy cannot cheat. It pulls a king and beggar down to the Selson Street. Your assets all frozen when the heart begins to fail. Your credit score is zero when you're stepping through the veil. You can't take it with your son, it burns up in the heat. Just a puddle of molten metal underneath your feet. You can stack the coins of heaven, you can feel the vault of tide. You can try to bribe the reaper when he comes into the night, but the currency of judgment ain't minted by the state. And St. Peter don't take tips when you're standing at the gate. Yeah, the devil's getting hungry and he's waiting for his toll, but a pocket full of silver won't buy back your soul. No, a pocket full of silver won't buy back your soul. 30 pieces for a kiss. Look at what you truly miss. 30 pieces for a lie. Watch the camel thread the eye. It dragged Judas to the rope, and it'll drag you too. Count your treasure while the clock is ticking down. Be the richest corpse resting in this godforsaken town. When the ledger opens up and the final math is done, you'll find your bankrupt brother beneath the setting sun. The weight of all that money's just an anchor in the flood, dragging you down deeper into the mire and the mud. Throw it away, it ain't worth a dime. You're out of cash and you're out of time. Buy back your soul. Cypress trees are watching, hanging heavy with the moss. They know the price of vengeance, and they know the way to loss. I walked out to the clearing where the soil is soft and black, with a shovel on my shoulder and a rifle on my back. I didn't stop at one, Lord, I kept on digging down until I carved two hollow spaces in the cold and muddy ground. One is 6 feet deep and the other is just the same. One is for the man I hate and one is for my name. They say a man seeking vengeance better be prepared to die. Look the devil into his eyes. I ain't looking for survival, I ain't looking to intrude. I'm just finishing the business that the silence brewed. Yeah, I know how this ends. I ain't looking to be sued. I dug two graves before I started this feud. He's sleeping in his cabin, thinking he got away clean, thinking that his sins are washed in the river in between. He don't hear the footsteps coming up the wooden stairs. He don't feel the static, the electricity in the air. I cleared my debts this morning, I said goodbye to Mom. I burned the family photos and I broke the family law. There ain't no walking back when the chamber takes the round. There's only 2 pine boxes waiting open in the ground. They say a man seeking vengeance better be prepared to die, to look the devil in the face, spit into his eye. I ain't looking for survival, I ain't looking to intrude. I'm just finishing the business that the silence brewed. Yeah, I know how this ends. I ain't looking to be sued. I dug 2 graves before I started this feud. An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, but I don't need my eyes to see what I gotta find. I can find him in the dark, I can find him by the beat of his black heart. Harvest up the crop, one for him and one for me. Justice is a double suicide. Yeah, I dug 2 graves. I left my conscience in a shallow grave in Texas, with the rain washing off the man I used to be. I pulled that beat up Ford off on a farm to Market Road, and I stepped out into the mud to lighten up my load. It wasn't money, it wasn't dope, and it wasn't stolen gold. It was a heavy nagging whisper that was getting mighty old. It told me, turn around, son, I took a rusted spade and I bashed that whisper in. Now I'm rolling through Oklahoma with a hollow in my chest. I feel lighter than a feather, I feel wicked, I feel blessed. You can look into my eyes, search for mercy or for grace, but you're staring at a ghost in a dead man's place. Yeah, the good part of my soul finally ceased to exist, 'cause I left my conscience in a shallow grave in Texas. Mama gave me a Bible, Daddy gave me a name, but neither one could save me from the hunger and the flame. It's hard to pull the trigger when you feel the other's pain. It's hard to rob a stranger when you're worried about the stain. But that dirt down in the panhandle covers up the sound of the morals and the guilt being smothered underground. Now the whiskey burns smoother and the lies roll off my tongue, and I don't worry about the dying, and I don't worry about the young. Now I'm rolling through Oklahoma with a hollow in my chest. I feel lighter than a feather, I feel wicked, I feel blessed. You can look into my eyes, search for mercy or for grace, but you're staring at a ghost in a dead man's place. Yeah, the good part of my soul finally ceased to exist, 'cause I left my conscience in a shallow grave in Texas. The coyotes are gonna find it, they're gonna tear it all apart. They'll feast upon the kindness that used to be my heart. A shallow grave in Texas. Yeah, I'm free. Lord, I'm empty and I'm free. Don't look for no apology from me. Drive on. I left it in the dirt, in a shallow grave in Texas. A single acoustic guitar plays a dissonant word chord progression. A pump organ hums a low constant drone. The floorboards are splintered underneath my knees. I'm begging for water, but I'm drinking the lead. The candle is dying in a pool of hot wax, and the weight of the Bible is breaking my back. I look to the ceiling past the rot and the stain, asking the Savior to wash out the pain. I sent up a letter sealed with tears and with dread, but the line went dead silent, or so I was led. I called out for mercy to the kingdom of light, to save a wretch from the edge of the night. I waited for angels to burst through the gloom, to sweep out the shadows that choke up this room. But the heavens were quiet, not a whisper, not a burst. I prayed for forgiveness, but the demons answered first. Yeah, the demons answered first. They didn't come knocking, they didn't use keys. They rose from the floor like a sudden disease. One looks like whiskey, one looks like a gun, one looks like the man that I shouldn't have been. They sat on my shoulder, they whispered my name. Said God's got no time for this level of shame. He's busy with saints, they hissed in my ear, but we're always listening and we're always near. I called out for mercy to the kingdom of light, to save a wretch from the edge of the night. I waited for angels to burst through the gloom, to sweep out the shadows that choke up this room. But the heavens were quiet, not a whisper, not a burst. I prayed for forgiveness, but the demons answered first. Yeah, the demons answered first. They said, why wait for heaven? It's so far away. We can stop all the hurting right here, right today. Just give us the reins, let us take the wheel. We'll numb every cut that refuses to heal. I tried to keep praying, I tried to stay strong, but the silence of Jesus lasted too long. My Colt 45 is the only friend I wrote. I look like a storm that's fixing to blow. I watch my woman walk out with a man in a suit. She didn't leave a note, she just took all the loot. Even my dog ran off, chasing rabbits in rain, leaving me here with a bottle and a whole lot of pain. People talk about loyalty like it's something you buy, but the price of a handshake has gotten too high. So I reach for the middle, resting cold on my hip. It don't ask for money, and it don't give me a lip. It don't tell me secrets that turn out to be lies. It just stares down the barrel with its hollow black eyes when the world turns its back and the promises clip. My Colt 45 is the only friend I have left. I remember the nights when the posse rolled close, when the fear in my gut was like a tangible ghost. Everyone scattered like leaves in the wind. Every brother I had, every cousin and kin. But the 6-shooter stayed right here by my side, through the dust and the blood and the long, lonely ride. 6 little soldiers waiting patient in the dark, ready to bite when the dogs start to bark. So I reach for the middle, resting cold on my hip. It don't ask for money, and it don't give me lip. It don't tell me secrets that turn out to be lies. It just stares down the barrel with its hollow black eyes when the world turns its back and the promises clip. My Colt 45 is the only friend I have left. It's a sad conversation when you talk to a gun, but it's the only one listening when the day is done. It's heavy to hold and it's heavy to bear, but it's the only damn thing in this life that plays fair. One trigger pull and the argument ends. That's a hell of a lot more than I got from my friends. Just the way I like it. Sleep tight world, I got someone watching over me. Just me and the iron. My only friend left. My gravestone was carved before I was even born. Mason down in Georgia had a vision in his sleep of a soul too wild to hold and a promise hard to keep. He went down to the quarry where the granite veins run deep, and he pulled a block of gray out from the rubbish and the heat. My mama hadn't met my daddy, the spark had not been struck, but the stone was sitting waiting in the muddy quarry muck. It wasn't bad decisions, and it wasn't lack of luck. It was written in the geology, deep inside the rock. You can fight against the current, you can struggle against the tide. You can run to California, you can find a place to hide. But the end was waiting patiently amidst the briars and the thorn. Yeah, the date was left blank, but the edges were worn. My gravestone was carved before I was even born. Yeah, my gravestone was carved before I was even born. I lived a life of reckless speed, I drank the river dry. I laughed right in the face of death and never batted an eye. I thought I was a captain, the master of my soul. I didn't know I was walking toward a beat-up hole. Every sin I ever committed, every law I ever broke, was just me walking closer to that slab of gray and smoke. It's got my name in cursive, cut deep and cut wide, waiting for the day the devil takes me for a ride. You can fight against the current, you can struggle against the tide. You can run to California, you can find a place to hide. But the end was waiting patiently amidst the briars and the thorn. Yeah, the date was left blank, but the edges were worn. My gravestone was carved before I was even born. Yeah, my gravestone was carved before I was even born. It's heavy on my shoulders, it's heavy on my chest. 1,000 pounds of marble sitting on my rest. It's older than my grandfather, it's colder than the snow. It's the only place on this earth that I'm meant to go. Tethered to this rock since the rising of the moon. Destiny is a heavy hand that pushes on your head, and it don't stop pushing, boys, until you're good and dead. The chisel stops its ringing, the dust begins to clear. It's been waiting for 50 years.
Congregation stood up as the double doors swung. The hymn of the Union was softly being sung. The sunlight was streaming through stained glass design, painting the pews in a purple and wine. She walked down the aisle with a grace in her stride, a picture of beauty, a perfect young bride. But the groom didn't turn around to look at her face. He was slumped on the altar all over the place. The silence that followed was heavy and deep, as the secrets of marriage are hardest to keep. She looked like an angel that fell from the sky, with a cold desperation carved deep in her eye. The lace was imported, the silk was spun fine, a vision of purity, holy and divine. But the devil is hiding in the things that we dread. She wore a white dress, but her hands were stained red. Yeah, her hands were stained red. She didn't carry roses, she didn't carry mom. She carried a blade where the flowers were from. She stood over the man who had promised her gold, a story of vengeance that's never been told. She didn't preserve a single drop of a tear for the man who had ruled her with bruises and fear. She whispered a vow to his unmoving chest, till death do us part. I like this part the best. She looked like an angel that fell from the sky, with a cold desperation carved deep in her eye. The lace was imported, the silk was spun fine, a vision of purity, holy and divine. But the devil is hiding in the things that we dread. She wore a white dress, but her hands were stained red. Yeah, her hands were stained red. No one made a motion, no one made a sound. We watched the crimson blood soak into the ground. It crept down the steps and it touched the white hem, a beautiful nightmare, a violent gem. She turned to the crowd with a smile on her lips and wiped off the knife on her ivory head. Walked back up the aisle, through the stunned and the mute, past the terrified father in his Sunday best suit. She pushed open the doors to the bright midday sun. Her life as a widow had only begun. I reckon the sheriff will come for her soon, but she's dancing alone underneath the pale moon. White as the snow, red as the sin. She's free as a bird in the cage she was in. She wore a white dress, but her hands, but her hands.
Inside this box of pine, the air is stale and thin. I can feel the vibration of the wheels against my skin. I can hear the conductor calling out the stops along the line, but he won't be punching no ticket for this weary soul of mine. steel and stone. Take me back to the red clay earth where I truly belong. I'm done with the city lights, I'm done with the roam. That midnight train is hauling my casket home. Yeah, that midnight train is hauling my casket home. I left the farm a decade back, seeking fortune, seeking fame. I found a lot of whiskey and I found a lot of blame. I gambled in St. Louis, I fought in New Orleans. I chased the devil's daughter through 100 different scenes. But a bullet from a jealous husband stopped me in my tracks. Now I'm lying horizontal with my hands crossed on my chest, relaxed. Mama's waiting at the station, wearing a Sunday black, praying to the Lord that he would cut her boys some slack. Roll on, you wine monster, eat up the steel and stone. Take me back to the red clay earth where I truly belong. I'm done with the city lights, I'm done with the roam. That midnight train is hauling my casket home. Yeah, that midnight train is hauling my casket home. Cross the bridge over the river, let the water wash my sin. The whistle screams a warning, like the howling of the wind. I can't change the life I wasted, I can't undo what I've done, but at least I'm riding first class on this final long run. When the brakes begin to squeal and the steam begins to hiss, I hope the graveyard is peaceful, I hope it's full of bliss. Don't open up the lid, boys, just put me in the ground. I don't want them to see the look of the trouble that I found. Just call my name and dates and leave the epitaph alone. The sound of the wheels is the only prayer I've ever known. Here comes the rest. That midnight train is hauling my casket home. That midnight train has hauled my casket home.
I walked into a saloon that wasn't on the map. The air smelled like sulfur and a thunderclap. There was one seat open at a table in the back, where the velvet was red and the shadows were black. The dealer sat waiting with a smile razor thin. His suit was cut sharp from a serpent's skin. He nodded at the chair, poured a glass of rye, and said, "Sit down, sinner, give your luck a try. You can count your chips, you can hide an ace, you can try to read the lines on his ancient face, but the deck is marked with the original sin, and the house never loses no matter where you've been. Yeah, you play the hand, but the game is grim. The devil deals the cards, and he always wins." I put my pocket watch down, golden old. He raised me a lifetime, or so I'm told. I bet the love of a woman I hadn't met yet. He laughed like a jackal, said, "I'll take that bet.
He flipped over a queen, she was bleeding from the eyes. I held a pair of tens and a handful of lies. The room got hot, the whiskey turned to ash, and I realized too late I was out of cash. You can count your chips, you can hide an ace, you can try to read the lines on his ancient face, but the deck is marked with the original sin, and the house never loses no matter where you've been. Yeah, you play the hand, but the game is grim. The devil deals the cards, and he always wins. He don't need to bluff, he don't need to cheat. He owns the victory before you take your seat. It ain't about the money on the wood, it's about taking everything that's ever been good. Sweep the floors in this hall of the damned, with a broom in my grip and a callus on my hand. I watch the new fools walk through the swinging door, thinking they can beat what happened before I try to warn them, but I got no voice. Once you sit at that table, you got no choice. So fold 'em, boys, just walk away. Don't wait for the dealer to make his play. He's got the king of spades right up his sleeve, and he always wins.
We've been circling this mountain for 20 long years, trading insults for bullets and whiskey for tears. I burned down your barn and you poisoned my well. We turned this whole county into a slice of hell. The preacher tried talking, the sheriff tried force, but you can't stop a twister on a collision course. The ground is all torn up, the fences are down, there ain't nothing left of this God-forsaken town. So go ahead and load up, put a round in the chamber. We passed upon a caution, we're living in danger. The storm is raging harder, the sky is turning red. Peace is a fairy tale that the cowards get fed. Yeah, the wind is screaming murder inside of my head, and the dust will only settle when we are both dead. Yeah, when we are both dead. I know your shadow better than I know my own. I know every sin that you've carved in the stone. You're the mirror image of my ugliest side. Two stubborn mules on a suicide ride. There ain't enough oxygen left in this room for both of us to breathe without inhaling the doom. So let's finish the dance, let's settle the bill, let's see whose blood spills first on the hill. So go ahead and load up, put a round in the chamber. We passed upon a caution, we're living in danger. The storm is raging harder. circling, they know what comes next. They're waiting to feast on the wreckage and hex. I don't care who wins, I don't care about the prize. I just wanna see the light fade out from your eyes. The silence is coming, but it ain't here yet. Not while there's breath left to scream and to swear. When we are both dead. I live in the house that he built with his hands on an acre of dry, unforgiving land. I buried him deep beneath the old oak tree. Thought that the dirt would keep him away from me, but the nights get long and the silence gets loud, and the memories gather like a thunderhead cloud. I opened a fresh bottle of Tennessee Rye, and I swear I heard a heavy, familiar sigh. He don't rattle no chains, he don't moan in the hall. He just sits in his chair and he stares at the wall. He don't offer no wisdom, he don't give me no advice. He's cold as the grave and he's quiet as ice. I pour me a shot, turn my back for a beat, and the glass is bone dry when I get to my seat. Yeah, the dead don't get thirsty or
enough for the living and the shade in the chair. Here's to you, old man, you drank me poor when you were alive. Ain't no reason for death to let me survive. Yeah, he's drinking my whiskey, everlast dry. Drinking my whiskey, drinking my
dust of the law. The man in the black robe had the coldest eyes I ever saw. He didn't look at the Bible, he didn't look at the crowd. He just read off the paper and he read it out loud. He said, son, I could hang you, but there's too quick a release. I'm gonna make sure you never know a moment of peace. Gavel came down like a stone on a tomb, and the devil himself walked into the room. There ain't no fire and brimstone, just concrete and steel. There ain't no demons with pitchforks, just a hunger you feel. He gave me 99 years in a cage, 6x8, stripped me of mercy and locked up the gate. Yeah, the preacher says judgment waits on the other side. But the judge sentenced me to hell before I even died. Now the warden's a Satan of this little patch of earth. He makes you regret the day of your birth. We break rock in the canyon till our muscles are torn, wishing to God we had never been born. The sun beats down like a furnace blast, burning the future and blistering the past. I scream in the night, but the walls swallow the sound. I'm buried alive just above the ground. There ain't no fire and brimstone, just concrete and steel. There ain't no demons with pitchforks, just a hunger you feel. He gave me 99 years in a cage, 6x8, stripped me of mercy and locked up the gate. Yeah, the preacher says judgment waits on the other side. But the judge sends me to hell before I even die. I pray for the reaper to come swing his scythe, to cut the cord of this miserable life. But death is a freedom I can't afford. It's the only escape that the law won't award. They keep me breathing just to watch me bleed. Yeah, suffering's the crowd, and I am the sea. Sentenced me to hell before I even died. Bible on the dashboard of my Chevrolet, opened up to Psalms where I used to pray. There's a rosary hanging from the rearview mirror, swinging back and forth as the end draws near. I asked for a sign, I asked for a path, I asked for a way to let go of this raft. But the silence was loud and the night was cold, and the anger inside me got brave and got bold. I felt the wind die down, I saw the sun fade out, I felt the faith leave my body, replaced by the doubt. The angels stopped singing, the sky turned to dawn, and the clouds drew a curtain across the sinking sun. Yeah, I guess there are things that the Savior can't condone, 'cause the Lord turned his back when I loaded my gun. Yeah, he left me to finish what the devil begun. It ain't about justice, it ain't about law, it's about settling a score with a man I just saw. He thinks he is safe in his house on the hill, but he don't know the emptiness only lick can feel. I poured out the whiskey, I put down the cross, I accepted the sin and I accepted the loss. My hands didn't tremble, my heart didn't race when I wiped the last bit of mercy right off of my face. I felt the wind die down, I saw the sun fade out, I felt the faith leave my body, replaced by the doubt. The angels stopped singing, the sky turned to dawn, and the clouds drew a curtain across the sinking sun. Yeah, I guess there are things that the Savior can't condone, 'cause the Lord turned his back when I loaded my gun. Yeah, he left me to finish what the devil begun. One bullet for the lie, one bullet for the pain, one bullet just to make sure he remembers my name. I'm walking through the valley, but I ain't got no rod or staff, just this cold blue steel and a bitter broken laugh. Now I'm deaf to the sound of his comforting voice. He walked away, he couldn't stay to watch, he closed the gates, the Lord turned his back when I loaded my gun.
Neon sign is buzzing like a hornet in a jar. I'm sitting in the shadow of this double wide bar.
Darkness is a blanket, it's a comfort, it's a friend. It softens up the edges of the rules I had to bend. In the dim light of the hallway, I look almost like a man who hasn't lost his fortune and who hasn't lost his plan. The whiskey tastes like honey when you drink it in the gloom, and the ghosts stay in the corner of the quiet empty room. But the moon is a liar, painted silver and cold. It promises a secret that it cannot hold. You can bury your demon, you can cover up the scars, you can pray to the ceiling, you can bargain with the stars. But when the dawn breaks the window, when the rooster starts to squeal, the night only hides what the sunlight reveals. Yeah, the night only hides what the sunlight reveals. I can pretend she's sleeping just a room or two away. I can pretend I didn't gamble every cent of it away. I can look into the mirror and see a hero in the glass, not a broken down drifter sitting on his ass. The night allows a fantasy to breathe and to grow. It lets you forget the things that you already know. It's a temporary pardon from the judge and from the jury, a quiet little refuge from the coming sound and fury. But the moon is a liar, painted silver and cold. It promises a secret that it cannot hold. You can bury your demons, you can cover up the scars, you can pray to the ceiling, you can bargain with the stars. But when the dawn breaks the window and the rooster starts to squeal, the night only hides what the sunlight reveals. Yeah, the night only hides what the sunlight reveals. I curse the horizon, I curse the rising sun. I wish the rotation of the planet was done. Give me eternal midnight, give me pitch black skies. I don't wanna look at the wreckage with my own two eyes. Don't make me see it. But the gray's creeping in underneath the wooden door, illuminating bottles shattered on the floor, illuminating wrinkles, illuminating gray, illuminating deaths that I can never pay. The masquerade is over, the party has to end, and the truth is standing there like an unwelcome friend. So pull down the shades, close your eyes tight, but you can't stop the morning from killing the night. Here comes the sun, God have mercy. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. Baptism failed. We went down to the water in the pale morning light, dressed in linen robes of pure and spotless white. The preacher stood waist deep in the muddy clay, ready to wash the sins of the congregation away. Brother Thomas walked in with a tremble in his knee, carrying a burden that no one else could see. He folded his hands and he closed his eyes tight, praying for the darkness to turn into light. But the devil was watching from the sycamore limb, waiting for the moment to take a swim. Well, the current is strong, but the blood is thicker. The prayer was long, but the blade was quicker. The hallelujah turned to a gurgling cry as the holy water washed the light from his eye. It wasn't salvation that the current exhaled. The river runs red where the baptism failed. Yeah. Held him under, said in the name of the Son, but he didn't pull him up when the blessing was done. I saw the flash of steel beneath the water's skin, a holy execution for a secret mortal sin. The white robe stained like a sunset storm, the water turned hot where the body was warm. The choir stopped singing, the mothers all screamed, waking up into a nightmare from the heaven they dreamed. Oh, the current is strong, but the blood is thicker. The prayer was long, but the blade was quicker. The hallelujah turned to a gurgling cry as the holy water washed the life from his eye. It wasn't salvation that the current exhaled. The river runs red where the baptism failed. Yeah. The vessel is broken. You can't take back the words that were spoken. Downstream, downstream. The catfish are feeding on a sinner's dream.
to that bend in the creek. The water is cursed and the outlook is bleak. The moss hangs gray like a funeral shroud, and the thunder rolls over in a dark, angry cloud. Thomas is gone, drifting out to the sea, but the stain on the water is there for eternity. Salvation is tricky, it's a dangerous game when you mix up the blood with the holy name. Watch the water flow, watch it turn to rust. Ashes to ashes, mud to dust. On and on. The preacher is alive.
To learn to pay for my sin. You're a little nervous, you look a little pale. He tied the knot with 13 turns, he oiled up the trap. But he knows this wood ain't strong enough to take the thunderclap. I see the preacher mumbling, clutching at his book, but there ain't no verse in there for the jagged path I took. You can build a gallows higher till it scrapes the gray sky. You can string me up at noon and watch the ravens fly. But the distance to the bottom ain't nearly far enough to square the debt I'm owing when the going got too rough. Yeah, the drop is only 6 feet, but the fall never ends. The rope is too short to pay for my sin. I promised her forever, then I left her in the cold. I traded family secrets for a pocket full of gold. I put a bullet in a man just to watch him hit the floor. And I walked away laughing through the turning of the door. Now gravity is waiting, hungry for my bones, but a soulless heavy sinks right through the pavement stones. Oh, you can build a gallows higher till it scrapes the gray in the sky. You can string me up at noon and watch the ravens fly. But the distance to the bottom ain't nearly far enough to square the debt I'm owing when the going got too rough. Yeah, the drop is only 6 feet, but the fall never ends. The rope is too short to pay for my sins. If the rope snaps, I'm still falling. If the neck breaks, I'm still crawling down past the magma, down past the grave, to a darkness that Jesus ain't willing to save. Let the timber crack. There ain't no redemption, there ain't no turning back. I need 1,000 miles of him and 1,000 years of time. The rope is too short. Yeah, the rope is too short
ground out here and waiting is as hard as iron ore. I broke the handle of my shovel, trying to settle up the score. So I dragged him to the canyon where the shadows stretch and bend, where the devil trades his secrets and the pavement finds its end. I didn't say a prayer for him, I didn't close his eyes. I just wiped the powder off my coat and watched the heat waves rise. Let the sirens wail on the interstate, let the bloodhounds catch a scent. There ain't no prison strong enough to hold my discontent. By the time the lawman gets here with his badge and peace of mind, the sheriff won't find what the vultures left behind. No, the sheriff won't find what the vultures left behind. He swore he had the money, said he buried it out deep, but a liar's word is heavy, and it's a promise he couldn't keep. My coat was hot against my hip, his sweat was on the dirt, and the silence of a desert don't care how much it hurt. I saw the black wings circling against the blinding white. Nature's little undertakers coming down to set things right. Oh, let the sirens wail on the interstate, let the bloodhounds catch a scent. There ain't no prison strong enough to hold my discontent. By the time the lawman gets here with his badge and peace of mind, the sheriff won't find what the vultures left behind. No, the sheriff won't find what the vultures left behind. Bone to dust and dust to wind, they pick the scent right off the skin. No shallow grave, no mark of stone, just a pile of white in the great unknown. Crossing over the river now, I'm headed Mexico, way out trade. This horse will bottle and I'll drink away the day. They can drag the creek and sift the sand until their hands are red, but the only witness to the crime is fed and gone to bed. Yeah, the law is slow, but the birds are fast. They clean the slate of a jagged past. The sheriff won't find what the vultures left behind. I've read the good book, cover to cover. Read about the pit where the demons hover. They talk about the brimstone, the gnashing of teeth, the eternal torment waiting underneath. But the preacher man, he don't know this thirst. He don't know the of cheap brown glass, watching the final hours of the nighttime pass. So pour it down, let it scale my throat. It's the only way to keep this soul afloat. I've tasted the ash and I've tasted the cold. I paid the price with the better part of my soul. You can preach to me about the judgment and the woe, but right now tonight in this dim lit road, the whiskey burns hotter than the fires below. Yeah, the whiskey burns hotter. It ain't just a liquor, it's a memory it weighs. The promise is broken and the high stakes mistakes. Every swallow is a razor, every sip is a sting, reminding me I ruined just about everything. The devil's got a pitchfork, or so they say, but I got a memory that won't go away. It lives in the amber, it lives in the grain, turning my stomach and boiling my brain. So pour it down, let it scale my throat. It's the only way to keep this soul afloat. I've tasted the ash and I've tasted the cold. I've paid the price with the better part of my soul. You can preach to me about the judgment and the woe, but right now tonight in this dim lit road, the whiskey burns hotter than the fires below. Yeah, the whiskey burns hotter. To swim in this sea of misery. There ain't no ice in the world cold enough to cool down a heart that's got it this rough. God help me, it burns, is the only warmth I know, hotter than the fires below. Hotter than the fires below. There will long taste the cornfields where the scarecrows ride to a bend. In the river that the town forgot, the mud is thick and cool upon my weary feet, and the silence here is bitter, but the air is sweet. I haven't seen a friendly face in 40 days or more, since I turned my back on mercy and walked out the door. The humans, they have judged me, cast me to the stone,
But down here in the thicket, I am not alone. And look at how they bow their heads, humble and low. Look at how their branches sway gentle and slow. They don't ask for apologies, they don't need a plea. The willow trees are weeping for a wretch like me. Yeah, the rain drips off their leaves like tears upon the ground. The willow trees are weeping, and it's a lonesome sound. I stole a ring of silver, I told a lie of gold. I bartered off the warmth to keep away the cold. My mother locked the shutters, my father loaded a leg, and the woman that I loved wished that I was dead. But nature holds no grudges, she don't keep a score. She welcomes back the sinner to the earth and floor. These gnarled old roots are wrapping round my heavy heart, holding me together while I fall apart. Look at how they bow their heads, humble and low. Look at how their branches sway gentle and slow. They don't ask for apologies, they don't need a plea. The willow trees are weeping for a wretch like me. Yeah, the rain drips off their leaves like tears upon the ground. The willow trees are weeping, and it's a lonesome sound. Let the green curtain hide me from the angry sun. Let the water wash the gunpowder from the gun. I am tired of the running, I am tired of the fight. I just want to rest beneath the canopy tonight. Sleeping peacefully inside this muddy mound. No marble for a marker, no preacher for the prayer. Just the wind tangling up the moss like a lover's hair. I found my sanctuary, I found my release, where the sorrow of forest brings a kind of peace. Cry for me, sisters, cry for me, wood. You understood me, nobody could. The willow trees are like me.
Left a trail of black smoke hanging on the edge of Tupelo. I got a cylinder screaming like a banshee in the night, trying to put some distance between the darkness and the light. I watch the city limits fade into a tiny speck of red, but I still hear every single cruel word you ever said. The odometer spinning like a gambler's roulette wheel, but distance ain't a cure for the way I truly feel. I can't outrun the trooper, I can't outrun the rain, I can't outrun the schedule of a midnight freight train. I can cross the Mississippi before the sun begins to rise, but I can't shake the shadow of your cold blue eyes. Yeah, the engine's burning oil and the gasket's blowing through, but this old truck can't outrun a memory like you. No, it can't outrun a memory like you. You're sitting in the passenger seat, though I know you ain't there. I can smell the jasmine and the wood smoke in your hair. Every country station is playing our old song, reminding me exactly where it all went wrong. I turn the radio off, but the silence screams your name. It's a high-speed chase, but it's a losing game. My knuckles are white, gripping on the steering wheel, trapped inside a moving cage of glass and rusted steel. I can outrun the trooper, I can outrun the rain, I can outrun the schedule of a midnight freight train. I can cross the Mississippi before the sun begins to rise, but I can't shake the shadow of your cold blue eyes. Yeah, the engine's burning oil and the gasket's blowing through, but this old truck can't outrun a memory like you. No, it can't outrun a memory like you. I could drive to California, I could drive into the sea, but the ghost in the mirror is staring back at me. It don't matter where I go or how fast I ride, you're burned into the leather, you're branded deep inside. Now the gas gauge is empty and the radiator's dry, and I'm stranded on a shoulder underneath a mocking sky. The steam is rising up just like a surrender flag, and my heart is heavy as a loaded saddlebag. I ain't moved an inch though I've gone 1,000 miles, just another victim of your haunting wicked wiles. Yeah, the Pistons are dead, but the